I just had to pull over and vent. I couldn't drive after that. I just got a coffee, and I had the most frustrating conversation. Guys, I'm running for Board of Education, so a guy asked me a question, and I'm happy to answer all questions. If I can know the answer, I'll tell him. If I don't, whatever. But the question led into pretty much him spouting off about what the real problem was. The question was basically, because the paper's been really bandwagoning, attacking schools, falling prey to what the government has planned by allowing us to vent our tax frustration, our overtax, understandably, our overtaxation frustration on a school budget. The government only lets you vote on one governmental budget, and that's the school budget. And they do that so you cut off your nose to spite your own face if you do bitch about it. Because most of it's state and federally mandated anyway. 85% of it's already paid for, and you're only voting on like 10-15%. So he asked me a question. It's like, okay, if the papers are saying that our enrollment's going down so drastically, which it isn't, that's another issue, and our costs are staying the same, why don't we just get rid of the schools and the superintendent? Well, they're talking about getting rid of one school building, and they're asking why we need a superintendent of 3 buildings if there's only 2 now. Why would we need it? I mean, you know what? If enrollment goes down to that point, sure, why do we need to spend so much money? But right now, the papers are exaggerating Holland's circumstances because they're comparing us with Williamsville Easts and Clarence and all these other big schools. We're a small school. Our costs aren't that out of line for the costs that we have for students. They can argue about facts, figures, and statistics, but let's face it, 1 out of 10 is 10%. 1 out of 100 is 1%. And when you're talking about losing one kid in a small school, yeah, the percentages go way up. And the costs might not be reflected because if you get rid of one kid or you lose one kid in school enrollment, no, you're not going to fire all teachers in every course that he's got because it doesn't make sense. So our spending still stays up, even though our enrollment is exaggerated by the paper and doesn't take into account our size. I called the paper about that. They admitted that it was mistaken. We'll do an obscure one-line correction in the classified section. The article touched so many people, it was a headliner article for 2 full pages. They spread it out for 2 full pages, and yet they're only going to print a one-line retraction. Not to mention they quoted one of our board members as saying that the taxes went up 14% one year and 10% the next. They omitted the fact that he said the tax warrant. The warrant is only part of the formula that increases or decreases taxes, and our taxes did not go up 14% or 10%. The warrant did, and it was equalized through, there's a huge formula, but our taxes have not gone up that much. But paper says it, so it's got to be gospel, right? And it touches so many people's lives, and they don't have the time to look into the details in this and that. So they read the facts and figures that the paper put out, and all of a sudden it's true, because they can't be burdened with looking into the details of why it's not. Facts aren't always the truth, people. It's how you use them and in what context. And if you mean to put down the school, well, guess what? You can use all the facts and figures you want. And this guy, the conversation I had with him was a pure reflection of that. I don't know this American thing where if you don't like it, get out. Because, you know what? He doesn't like it. Why didn't he get out? I don't like that. I don't believe in that kind of statement. If I don't like something, I'll try to fix it. If my car breaks down, I'm not going to get rid of it and buy a new one. I'm going to try to fix it. My school, it happens to have some pieces that are broken. I'm going to try to fix it. I'm running for board. I'm not the perfect candidate. I'm not an accountant, a lawyer, a professional, an educator, anything like that. But that's why the guidelines for being a Board of Education member are over 18, a resident of the district, and be able to read and write. They make them simple so that regular people can get on the board. We've got accountants and professionals and lawyers and real estate agents, and you know what? All they do is argue with the professionals that are working the system day in and day out, 5 days a week. They go in once a month, maybe 3 or 4 meetings, and all of a sudden they know more than the Board of Education's enlisted, hired professionals in the district. And they argue with them. They argue with them. I'm not going to argue with them because they're the professionals. I'm going to take their advice. I'm not going to micromanage because I'm not in it 5 days a week. I'm going to use their advice, take the community's advice, add the two together, and come up with a decision that says, first, not how is it going to help a private business in town, not how is it going to help my accounting firm, how is it going to help my relative that works for the district, not is it anything other than how is it going to help improve the kids' education. Flat out. Every question, every answer has got to be prefaced with, how will this help the kids' education get better? Well, that conversation I had a little while ago, it kills me, because it's not that he's not justified in being overtaxed. We all are, and there are reforms that can be made to the school system. But face it, the government is playing you. It doesn't have to be a conspiracy theory. What other budget can you vote on? And you're only voting on a percentage of it, while they go around trying to spend billions and trillions of dollars to countries that, last year in the news, those people, they towed a headless body of an American citizen around behind a Toyota. These are the people we're giving billions of dollars to. What the hell for? They want to see us die. Well, they're coming about it in a great way. They're either killing us literally if we go over there, or they're just going to sap us dry in our money. Our budget, we can't afford it anymore. We've been living high on the hog for way too long. You don't think everybody knows that? All the other countries, they know it. Osama bin Laden's laughing his ass off because he said that he wants to destroy the U.S. and the way to do it is financially. Well, it's working. Because now we're fighting amongst ourselves, and the only hope for the future that we have isn't in old people, it's in our kids. The kids that will come up with cures to cancer, that will come up with a new idea for energy that will save us billions of dollars, that will lead our country to where it's been for the longest time, the #1 spot in the world. It's in our kids. It's not going to be in one little old man somewhere sitting in an office worried about whether he's getting reelected. It's in our kids. So when you go out and you think about all these voting frustrations that you've got and the taxation frustrations that you got, go for the bang for the buck. Go for all these kinetic war actions that we've got going on. What is it, $100 million a day just for one in Libya? And yet you're going to spend all your passion on a school budget. It breaks my heart. It really does. Because you know what? You've got your education already. Your kids have their education already. And now you feel that you shouldn't have to pay for it? Well, guess what? This is America, where we stand up for one another. We all believe in the same thing. We don't do it for just a certain amount of time, people. We don't do it just until we come to a certain age and then we, live on retirement and Social Security and everything. Guess what? If you're American now, you're going to be American until you die. Or until you move out. I'm not moving out. I'm not moving out, and I'm not going to watch my kids leave a particular state because the rest of the people in the state don't feel that their tax situation and their dollars should go towards kids and their education. It's wrong. We need to fix it. We need to drop this attitude that everything is against our school budget and we can't afford it. And if we went on that, we're all done. Well, guess what? You get rid of the schools and the school taxes, you're left with other taxes. And the burden is going to be even heavier on you when these young people aren't here to have jobs and pay them.